Album review, Scarface Deeply Rooted. Before we get into the review, make sure you go to patreon.com/deadendhiphop. What happens when you go there? You will see all of the dope stuff you get if you decide to support Dead End Hip Hop on a monthly basis. You get reviews earlier. You get to actually have input as to what we're going to review. You also get to have intimate sessions through Google Hangout with your boys, Dead End Hip Hop. So make sure you just go and check it out. You don't have to pay. We're still going to do this. This is your channel. We love to do this, so we're never going to stop, but we will love your support because we have bigger and better things that we can do. Trust us. Huh? See? See?
You better not blame me. You better not blame me.
I'm getting it in. Like, what you said?
We've got some intimate sessions with Freaky FIFA. I'm getting it in.
Make sure that you check out Dead End Sports. Just go subscribe. That's me, BZ, Ken, and the host 12 Kyle. Make sure you subscribe to Mike Seatown's channel, BZ's channel, and just Google search everything Modest Media. Go check out IamModestMedia.com for all of your videography and everything needs, man. That's what he does on a daily. And you see what he's doing. He got millions of views. You know what he's doing. Go check the man out. Back to the review, Scarface Deeply Rooted. We definitely have never touched a Scarface album on Dead End Hip Hop. This is the first one. It's been a minute since I listened to a Scarface project. I cannot front. It's been a very long time. And I'm not necessarily the biggest Scarface fan because I didn't necessarily grow up with him. So this right here was a reintroduction to Scarface for me. Now, the first thing I was wondering going into this review was, is he gonna sound like one of them super old dusty hip hop dudes? I'm sorry. Sometimes some of them, I said that's what I. That's what kid face look like that. That's all I'm saying. I didn't know the type of production that he was gonna try to pick. I'm just saying there are some old dusty hip hop heads.
That doesn't apply to Scarface.
But then I didn't know what to expect, and I hope that wasn't what I was going to get, and it isn't. Okay, it wasn't.
Okay.
Scarface definitely delivered like a motherfucker on this. This production wasn't necessarily like Jadakiss going for a more accessible commercial sound. Scarface doesn't have to do that because this album was the concept of being deeply rooted in the South and the things that a black man goes through was evident through the music production that he chose to go on this, and it was very appropriate for the type of album that he was trying to put together. Just musically, this hit home with everything that he was trying to do. Now, Scarface is obviously an OG. He's a Hall of Fame rapper. He has all of the credentials. He was a pioneer for Southern hip hop and all of that. But the thing that I love about him is that he does not sound like an old and dusty rapper. You know what I'm saying? He sounds like somebody that has been relevant and has progressed with the times. And that's the thing that I mainly took away from this. The track God with John Legend. Obviously John Legend, when anytime that man is on a song, it just takes the song to a whole nother level. But I love how Scarface on that song, his tone of voice was monotone, but it fit that track. There was really no bad tracks on here, but for me, God was one of the best ones. Keep It Moving with Avant, I love that because it was a little bit different from the rest of the album. That was like the R&B track of this album, and the way Scarface sounded on everything, he was so on point. This was not something that he just put together just because he wanted to put an album. This was something that was a thought, and it was concise, and he executed it throughout. Rick Ross and Nas and Zero on Do What I Do. Rick Ross held his own, and you know I'm a Rick Ross fan, and I always feel that whenever he's on tracks with the biggest names in hip hop, can you say like, oh, well, Rick Ross was whack on it? He wasn't. Nas came with it. Zero, Fuck You Too. That joint was Zero too. I felt like how Zero comes in, and Zero is big in Texas. You know what I'm saying? But he's never really garnered traction like that anywhere else. But I like the fact that Scarface was like, yo, come on, let's get on this. You know what I'm saying? And obviously Scarface puts on for his city and his town. There's no bad tracks on here. I'm not necessarily the biggest Scarface fan, and this was a reintroduction, but there's definitely bumps in the whip, and it's definitely a great album. It's just that I'm not like head over heels for it, but I fuck with it. It's a good album.
I think you need to definitely become way more familiar with Scarface and his work. What I like about this album is that there's a certain level of maturity that comes with it. I think when you talk about, you know, his career in the game, he's definitely been around for a while, but he hasn't strayed too far, if at all, away from what he does. One of the things that I notice is how clean and crisp, you know, this really sounds when it comes to his vocals and the production, how this thing is mastered. Like, you can almost hear every single instrument in this particular album. That was one of the things that stand out. There's other tracks that he has on here that kind of gave me that Scarface Untouchable sound, you know, like the Hot Seat. I think Anything is another one that did bring that about for me. Songs like God that you talked about with Keep It Moving, which talked about like relationships and, you know, him dealing with the situation, you know, with his woman is that maturity part that I'm talking about. But then it also shows that if you talk to him or come at him some kind of way, he can become a knucklehead on you too. When he's talking about when fuck you too and shit like that. Dope Man Pushing was really, really good. Like the first time I listened to this, like the production immediately stood out to me. Scarface has never been a slouch on the mic, and so I was really listening to, you know, what are the songs, what are you talking about, you know, now in your career, and what are the type of songs that you're going to construct, and you know, for the most part, he accomplished all of that in terms of what I'm expecting from, you know, Scarface now today, making, you know, the grown man album, because that's what I got. There are two songs that I didn't quite get with, and that was All Bad and Voices. I didn't really care too much for those, but I don't think they're that bad in the way that they detract from the album. That I can still listen to them because they're really on the back end of the album, the way he ends and closes albums. He always ends his albums with just that one song where he just goes fucking in. And No Problem is that joint, man. Like, if you think that Scarface can't fucking rap, you need to listen to that shit, man. The lines in that song, man, he was killing that shit. He always does that. He always leaves you with an impression. I love this album. I thought it was really, really good.
From the beginning, I've never really liked Ghetto Boys. I didn't appreciate Scarface till became a solo artist.
I don't remember that. I remember that.
I do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Remember, I told that to both of y'all. Y'all was like, for real?
I know the deal.
I was like, yeah. It's like, I didn't really care for too much for Ghetto Boys as the group, but like I said, Scarface as a solo artist, when, you know, Mr. Scarface and, you know, Diary, of course, I've been a fan of him since Mr. Scarface, since 93, 94. Scarface, he's always been so consistent, but so dope. Straight into your face, dope storytelling. It's almost like he talks to you, you know what I'm saying, while he's rhyming. It's like, he's not like saying no super over the top, make you think lyrical type stuff. He's always just going, he's just sitting down and just, you know, just talking to you just about life. That's one thing I was expecting with this album. I know I was going to get that. Just like Ken, though, the production really, I was really amazed with the production, you know, the beat selection. I know there's a lot of piano sampling and stuff on here. I was like, man, N.O. Joe was doing a lot of piano sampling, with the song structure. I'm just like you. I didn't really care for it. Was that All Bad and Voices? Them was the exact two songs that I was like, I can do without. But I think from front to the end, I really do like this album. It was pretty much what I expected. I was a little interested in, you know, this is his first album since 2008 that he released. So I thought he was done. Remember, he said he was, you know, this is my last album. I'm out. Emeritus. Yeah, that's what it was. 2008. He was like, yeah, I'm done. You know, Base. So for him to come back with his album, I was like, okay, he must have a lot to say, or he got a lot on his mind. He want to get off. But yeah, and he did a great job of doing that. I just didn't expect the production to be so. Not saying that he rapped over like whack beats, but I just didn't expect the production to sound like this.
They've always picked good production.
Yeah, but this is
I know. I've heard it.
Yeah. I'm saying, like, I'm not saying he's been over like just rap production, but it's just like this one. I just didn't expect him, for him to take off this much time.
Like he's really into like everything. Like he doesn't just say it as cliche talk.
Right.
Like he's really into that stuff. Like there's interviews where he's playing the guitar and shit like
Yeah.
that. Scarface is really into that. So
Yeah.
it was good to kind of actually get that in the album.
Like you said, God, I think people say God. It kind of remind me of like the play on Nas' If I Rule the World, how you just, pretty much say, yeah, if I was God, this and that, do this, do all that. Even though this track was kind of reminiscent of my mind playing tricks on me, it wasn't as dark per se, but it kind of just put me in that mind. Just, I guess, what he was talking about in Steer. How he kind of, the first verse, he kind of talks about like how he kind of at peace with his life, but he still kind of, then the second verse, he talk about like how he's still waking up with blood on his shirt, and cops chasing after him and all that stuff. And then I like Hot Seat, how he kind of touched on racism in the South, because he's deeply rooted in the South. So, everything. It's just like Scarface made an album. He just sat you down and just spoke game to you.
Put you on game,
just put you on game of life. You can tell it was some songs. He sounded like he was talking to like the younger generation, kind of like schooling them about the music game and just about life in general. So just everything about Scarface I've always loved over almost 2 decades in the game. He put out an album that I pretty much knew I was gonna like from the get go. Like I said, I just didn't expect the production to sound like this, and I was just amazed. But yeah, good solid project from beginning to end.
The production definitely caught my ear immediately because shit, there was no way I thought that this was going to be a bad album. I mean,
Right.
Scarface has not put out a bad album, and he always sounds great. Dope Man Pushin' was it had immediately jumped to one of my favorite songs simply because the beat was amazing. It was dark, it was nasty, but that second verse by Scarface was just, he sounded so pissed off. The first verse sounded a little, not mellow, but it just didn't really sound aggressive. But that second verse, when Scarface comes in, it was like, damn, I would hate to be in front of him while he was spitting this shit. Anything was dope too. Like that was, I love how it starts. You could tell old, like Scarface is like an old head because he comes in, he's like, I'm just the beat ride for a minute. That's so old school, man. And he says real nigga in your presence. Like, God, only he can say shit like that and just sound very sincere. Do What I Do, I have to disagree a little bit. I loved that song. I didn't really care for Rick Ross's verse. It wasn't whack, but it wasn't that great to me because it was such a great beat, and Nas sounded fucking incredible because Nas always sounds incredible. God was a great track. God really, to me, it sounded like your grandfather just sitting down talking to you, about some wisdom shit, and you're just sitting there just listening. Yeah, granddad, you right, granddad, what else? But from Keep It Moving all the way down to No Problem, I feel like it lost a bit of momentum. Those songs, while they were not whack, they were not as good as the first half of this album. I didn't much care for You. I definitely didn't care much for All Bad Voices. But No Problem, like they said, probably the best song on the album. When that song comes on, you really pay attention because Scarface is serious. One thing I did notice a lot is for the first half of the album, he pretty much had the same flow. It's Scarface, so it sounds dope, but it was like the same flow on those songs. But when you get towards the end, on No Problem, it's a different Scarface. It's almost like what Ken said. This is the Scarface. It's almost like somebody said you can't rap. Or someone said you old and dusty. Scarface like, oh, for real? Okay, well, listen to this shit real quick and tell me I'm old and dusty. This is a great album. Another great addition to the Scarface catalog. When you listen to this album while looking at the artwork, whoever did the art direction for this, perfect. I love that artwork, and it gives you an idea of the mood of this album. Like, it really brings you into the dirty, muddy South. There's one gripe. Some of the hooks got really old to me. I didn't really care for a lot of the hooks on this project. I think it would have been a lot better had they not had some of those sing-songy hooks, but like Fuck You Too, I was not feeling that hook at all. Fuck you. It didn't sound good. It just didn't sound good. Like, that song was so dark and just hard, and then it was like that. And this is nothing against Zero or anybody that sung these hooks. I just didn't really think the hooks fit that great with the songs. But they were not bad enough for me to really say that those songs were bad because of the hooks. The album's still dope.
You need to apologize.
Damn.
You need to apologize to Scarface
Regarding?
for calling him old and dusty.
Who called him that?
Well, you still need to apologize for
Nope.
Disrespect.
disrespect. Yes.
No,
You need to
like,
apologize to Jada.
Right.
Look at his face. Look at what face?
Scarface, if you're watching, I didn't think you were gonna come out with any more music. You know, I definitely thought you retired. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that because obviously you're dope. And I didn't think that this was going to be a whack project. Just not expected. Didn't know what was gonna happen. There's nothing that any one of us can tell you. You're already in the Rap Hall of Fame. I'm pretty sure if and when you do decide to come out with something else, it's gonna be good. I'm not your biggest fan, but keep making great music. I don't know what else to say.
What's the matter with that, Ken? What's wrong?
everything is the matter with that, man. But
Tell him
anyway,
why. Tell him why, King.
God damn it, FIFO.
So I'm supposed to be a fan of everybody you a fan of? I acknowledge his greatness. I don't have to be a big ass fan of somebody to acknowledge what they meant for hip hop.
This is ridiculous. I'll deal with him later. Look, everybody should definitely go out, cop this project. It's a great album. It embodies everything that's really great about Scarface, man. Like Mike said, man, the man hasn't put out a whack album yet. And this just adds to the catalog. If you were retired, man, thanks for coming out of retirement. You came out with an album that's definitely of your standard and a little bit above when it comes to production, man. But you know, I love everything you put out, man. You know, and this just adds to it. So I apologize for FIFO. I'm gonna just end it at that. Everybody go cop this album, Scarface Deeply Rooted.
He still said you were sucking Scarface dick.
Can
Old Dusty
Do we
dick.
need to talk about Big Crit and Logic?
But it's old Dusty
I'm not in the
dick, though.
mirror getting ready for a FaceTime.
He said Scarface gave you that FaceTime.
Go, B, go. B, let's go.
Hey, don't let me hang it up. Let me hang it.
talking about
Yeah, I gotta wrap it up. Fuck you, Mike. Fuck you too.
thank you for putting out a really good album from front to back. Glad, like people said, if you was retired, glad you came back. I feel like, you know, Scarface can take another, 6-7 years off and still come back and be the Scarface that we've known to love throughout the decades. You know, he can come back almost, 50 years old and still sound the same and still make a quality album. I think he's that type of MC. And the production, y'all did a great job. And Knots too. Knots he produced anything too. Shout out to Knots for helping with that production. But good album. Thank you. I can't say thank you enough.
Great project. I expected it to be dope, and you came through with another solid addition to your catalog. If you retire now, shit, you have the right, because you have not put out a bad project. And if you want to do another one, I will be happy to hear it.